The origins of Biggar go back a long way. There are two hill forts on Busyberry just to the north, and a Roman road runs through the town from the south. But Biggar's history is closely entwined with the fortunes of the Fleming family. Baldwin the Fleming, who was a descendant of Norman nobility, was granted land in Biggar by King David I of Scotland back in the 12th century. He built a mock castle, and its outline can still be seen here on the edge of the Burn Braes. The town became a borough of barony in 1461, which gave the Flemings the right to hold markets and other commercial activities, and this allowed the town to develop around the castle, and that might explain the width of the town's main street. Now, I don't know whether you've ever noticed, but the Biggar Accordion and Fiddle Club logo features one of Biggar's best loved landmarks, the Cadger's Brig. I met up with Biggar resident Ian Lammy of Historic Environment Scotland to hear about the history of this lovely wee bridge.
It's reputedly 13th century, but probably it's a bit later than that. You can see by the stonework it's in fairly good nick, so I don't think it would be as old as that. But it is very old, probably maybe late 17th century, early 18th century. It was a packhorse bridge. Originally it wouldn't have had the handrails on it, it would just have been open with no parapets. And it was on the main road from Lanark to Biggar. It had a lot of history about it, probably some of it a bit of a myth, but it's reputedly called the Cadger's Bridge because Wallace went over the bridge dressed as a cadger, a tramp, to spy on the English camp, the English army camp to the north of Biggar before the Battle of Biggar. But I think history probably is that the English army were at Roslin, and it was the Scottish army about 1303 that went north overnight and defeated the English army at Roslin. But in later times that whole myth got mixed up.
And talking of logos and such like, I'd noticed that the motto under the Biggar town crest says, "Let the deed show." I asked him about that too.
Lord Fleming was adherent to Robert Bruce, and at the little discussion that Comyn and Bruce had down in Dumfries about who would be the region of Scotland, there was a dispute, and Bruce lost his temper and stabbed Comyn. One of the others of the group, called Patrick, also stabbed him, and Lord Fleming cut off Comyn's head and said, "Let the deed show." In the late 13th century, the Flemings moved their castle from the old Motte and Bailey within Biggar itself to a new site in Bog Hall, just on the plain of the Biggar water. A swampy, marshy area, and it was a great place for defence because in the plateau in the centre, a platform, they built the new castle of Bog Hall. Originally the castle was one of the most impressive in the south of Scotland. It was a large courtyard castle, originally with a big gatehouse, a bit like a keep for the keeper of the castle, and originally an L-shaped keep on the south. The main entrance to the castle was on the north towards the town.
We then headed up to Biggar Kirk, which sits proudly above the Burn Braes Park. It's thought that there's been a kirk on this site since the 6th or 7th century. The kirk was rebuilt in 1546 and was in fact the last to be established before the Scottish Reformation in 1560.